Well, this is an amazing view of an increasingly protected landscape in Contra Costa County on and all around Mount Diablo, stretching east past scenery like this, all the way to hills that border the Central Valley. Well, not only is this territory increasingly protected, it is also increasingly accessible for us to explore in parks and open spaces, and to walk all the way from one end to the other. An epic walk from one end of the Mount Diablo ecosystem to the other can actually start by riding BART to Walnut Creek.
Walnut Creek, Mount Diablo.
Mountain right there. And imagine, we're surrounded by millions of people.
And the trailhead is about a mile away.
Yep.
Every April, the premier nonprofit advocate for preserving Mount Diablo's natural treasures, Save Mount Diablo, organizes a public camping expedition called 4 Days Diablo. It covers 30 miles through a wild and scenic stretch of paradise.
For the next 4 days, you literally cross 2 single-lane paved roads, and most of the time you see nothing but open space. Bigger than the Golden Gate National Recreation Area, bigger than Point Reyes National Seashore. This is one of the 2 or 3 most important open spaces in the entire Bay Area.
It's a way for people to have essentially a wilderness-type experience here in the Bay Area. First-rate camping experience where over 4 days you really get intimate with the mountain.
We have just 1 day to cover 30 miles and get intimate with the mountain, so we'll do it on foot and by car, in the company of Ted Clement, Executive Director, and Seth Adams, Land Conservation Director of Save Mount Diablo. Since its inception in 1971, Save Mount Diablo has played a central role in protecting over 110,000 acres on and all around the mountain.
Just in my professional career, we've more than tripled the amount of open space in the East Bay. And most people aren't aware of most of what's been protected. A lot of it doesn't show on maps yet. The Diablo Trail barely shows on many maps yet.
The Diablo Trail heads uphill. And so do we, this time in the comfort of the car, through ever-changing terrain, revealing big views and ancient geology in a popular place in Mount Diablo State Park called Rock City.
There's miles of rocks and cliffs on the west and the south side of Mount Diablo.
Looks like an elephant, this one.
Yeah, I think it looks more like a bison, but that's what it's named, Elephant Rock. In other areas like our Curry Canyon Ranch property, they're incredible rock outcroppings that have fossils in them, are used by wildlife, are largely unexplored.
Children often become happily acquainted with the wonders of Mount Diablo at nearby Live Oak Campground. Live Oak Campground, right? Where we meet State Park Superintendent Ryan Goring for a bite to eat.
This was an Indian village before it became a CCC camp, and then became a campground. And so it's absolutely perfect that it's along the first day of the Diablo Trail, and it's where we generally spend the first night, coming from Walnut Creek and headed east.
This Diablo Trail goes across many different parks, and all these partners together have linked them up so that the public can have this priceless experience of hiking over 30 miles through a wild area in the Bay Area surrounded by millions and millions of people. Where else do you have that? It's what makes it possible is the public. So all these incredibly enlightened citizens that value Mount Diablo, they step up, they volunteer for us. Enough cannot be said about the community that steps up.
Pretty soon, we hit the road again and quickly pull off to get a wide view of the lands traversed on day 2 of the annual 4 Days Diablo journey.
You start in Rock City, you cross a paved road for the first time on our trip. You end up heading across Black Hawk Ridge, over to Oyster Point, past Knob Cone Point, and finally either dropping down into Curry Canyon.
And that's Curry Canyon right down below us.
That's Curry Canyon right down below us. But it's an incredible landscape.
Ryan, behind you up there is the peak of Mount Diablo. The vistas are tremendous.
Yeah, it's 3,849 feet. You can see 35 counties of the 58 counties in the state of California. The Sierras are just beautiful when it's a clear day.
But meanwhile, we're heading that way towards Morgan Territory, right?
That's right. It's almost line of sight.
The journey east on foot from Curry Canyon on day 3 of 4 Days Diablo and our drive today leads to Morgan Territory Regional Park. Overseen by East Bay Regional Park District General Manager Bob Doyle.
This idea really started with horsemen who wanted to ride from Mount Diablo to Morgan Territory. We had a little tiny park out here in the 70s and nothing was happening. And Bob Walker, the conservationist and photographer, started coming out here and saying how beautiful this is and really brought attention to how gorgeous and how wild it is out here.
Bob Doyle and Seth Adams have helped save many of the critical wildlands we see from this high perch.
He hired me as the first staff person for Save Mount Diablo 29 years ago.
He did.
He did.
A big mistake you made.
And it's amazing to me that the first time I came out here, this little 776-acre park was 5 miles away from Mount Diablo State Park, separated by 3,300-acre Riggs Canyon. And since then, every bit of that has been protected in an almost 2-mile wide wildlife corridor.
Wildlife can wander unhindered in this increasingly vast and protected sanctuary, and water can flow freely to benefit nature and people who live downstream.
Every drop of rain that falls on this park, on this valley, goes down that canyon, goes all the way in a gooseneck, and ends up in the delta.
Right
so
out
we are
there.
the very top watershed of the entire Marsh Creek watershed right here.
Water flows downhill and east from here. And so do we and 4 Days Diablo hikers to the final destination, the East Bay Regional Park District's Round Valley Preserve near booming Brentwood and nearby towns.
And this is one of our newest parks. Round Valley was one of the new ones, and it also was threatened. It was proposed for a landfill, it was proposed for a reservoir, and we got there in time to get it. So this is really great how much it's been embraced, and lots of people are using this park now.
Round Valley and Mount Diablo's entire ecosystem truly are being embraced. With dedicated partners and public support, Diablo's being saved for us to enjoy and pass in better shape than we found it to future generations.
Call Fraser, will you?
One of the things that I always think is so important when you finish a long hike like the Diablo Trail, don't take it for granted. This is special.
And so it is.